Thank you, Linda. Our country and our parliament are better because of you. Today is a big day for me. I've never spoken in front of so many people before. It's also a big day for my parents too, and they're watching on from their home in Canleyvale in Western Sydney. My family is of Chinese heritage, but my parents were born and raised in Laos. They fled their homeland because of the Vietnam War and were incredibly lucky Australia gave them refuge. Watching their daughter step up to address this audience as the Labor candidate for Reid is a big deal for them. It's a big deal because where they came from, talking about politics, had real consequences. I remember, ahead of the 93 election, asking my mum who she was voting for. She turned to me and said, "Don't ever talk about politics and never tell anyone who you're voting for." So you can imagine what this moment means for them, how much they've come to embrace the very best of this country, our freedoms and our responsibilities, our freedoms to speak out, to hold a faith, to build the life we want, and our responsibilities to those around us so that we may all prosper together. When my parents came to Australia more than 4 decades ago, they were unskilled and spoke very little English. They worked hard in factories where they were able to find union jobs with good conditions and job security. They saved up to buy a modest home in Canleyvale just 5 years after arriving here. They still live there today. They worked hard to give my brother and I the education and work opportunities they never got. And my family was able to thrive here. But as I reflect on my family's story, a story shared by so many Australians, I wonder if it would have been possible if they'd come to this country 4 decades later. I can't help but think, as hard as they work, how much harder it is for people today. It is harder to find a secure job with decent pay. When my parents started working 40 years ago, around 13% of the workforce was in casual employment. Now that rate is double that. That means it's harder to pay rent, let alone save for a home. 40 years ago, almost 70% of all Australians on low and modest incomes, like my parents, owned their own home. Now it is only 48% who have that security, and that's even less in Sydney. The Australian dream is being pushed beyond the reach of working people, and that's no accident. It's not bad luck. It's not because people don't work hard. It is because of the policies and choices of this government. It's because of years of bad government pushing bad policies and inflicting bad outcomes on people in suburbs like this one. We are being let down by a government and Prime Minister who are failing us, failing to grasp the opportunities that education and innovation can give us, failing to build secure jobs and real career paths, failing to address climate change and plan for the jobs that can come from an economy powered by cheap, renewable energy. And that's why I'm standing for Reid, because the policies and decisions and values of governments matter. They change lives. And if we want to change things for the better in this country, we need to start by changing the government. The promise of a country can only be realised when we have political leaders who are bold and act with courage and compassion. Leaders like Anthony Albanese, and a team like federal Labor, united, determined, optimistic. And it's my pleasure to introduce a member of Labor's all-star team, a man who believes politics is about ideas and ideals and who works every day to advance the Labor cause. Our future Deputy Prime Minister and a true gentleman, please welcome the Deputy Leader of the Australian Labor Party, Richard Marles.